to have an experience that you would read about in a book or see in a movie. That's literally what these things feel like.
It's so nice. Really high quality sleeps because you're disconnected from technology, and really high quality time with the people you're on the mountain with as well. It's just like uninterrupted chats with people. It's amazing. It's the best thing about being on expedition, you know?
Hey everybody, welcome to a very special bonus episode of the podcast. I am delighted to be joined today with the founder of Earth's Edge, keynote speaker, mountaineer and endurance athlete, Jam McManus. Jam, we potentially will do another podcast down the line going through your exploits, because you are currently training to do Everest without oxygen in May of this year. So we're going to park the badassness of you and your achievements, and we're going to focus today on Kilimanjaro, because I'm bringing a group up with Earth's Edge October 21st to November 1st 2024 this year, and we're going to unpack that a little bit in today's podcast. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me on, man. Really excited to chat about Kili, so let's get into it, huh?
Jam, talk to us about Kilimanjaro. So we're going to go through everything here, from sleeping and altitude to the layout with Earth's Edge to how many days it takes, coming up, going down, etc. Absolutely everything. And I definitely want to touch on the top 10 things that people need to know before climbing Kilimanjaro. Talk us through first the layout. So we can use our trip as an example. We're putting this podcast out. There's still a couple of places left at the time of recording. If you're listening to this in the back catalogue, that trip has obviously been either full or done. Check out social media, mine and Earth's Edge, and you'll be able to get all the pictures and everything from that. But we're recording this in March 2024. We're planning to go October 21st, 2024. Talk to us a little bit about the layout first, in terms of how many days it takes, etc. And I'm going to assume for people listening that you've made the financial commitment, you've made the time commitment, you've booked it off work, and this is a goal for you on your bucket list, and these are the things you want to know. So I'm going to make all that assumptions on the front end, and we're going to pitch it that way. So talk to us a little bit about the layout, and we'll use that as a catalyst.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? So it's a 12-day trip. It's 2 days to get there. Leave Dublin the first day, land in Tanzania the second day, and day 3 you're going on the mountains. So you're 7 days on the mountain, 5.5 days up and 1.5 days down. Then you get off the mountain, you have a day for an optional safari, and then on day 11 we leave Tanzania to fly back to Ireland. Day 12 you're home and hosed, you know.
Amazing. And for those who are abroad, because I know we had a lot of people inquiring for this trip in particular, you can book it without the flight and sort your own flights out as well. So there is that option for people. That's something that Earth's Edge do, which I think is amazing for this trip and any potential trip. So I'll just add that in there. I'm right in saying that.
Yeah,
that goes across the board for all trips.
If someone's coming from another country or whatever, we just sell them the package excluding international flights, and they'll meet us in Tanzania. Yeah. Perfect.
Class. Talk to us a little bit about the 5.5 days up, because the two questions I've been asked most frequently about, well actually 3. One is sleep, one is altitude, and the other is how fit I need to be to do it in terms of time on feet, fitness levels, etc. Unpack each one for us. We'll start with fitness, then we'll move to altitude, then we'll move to sleep, because they're the 3 most frequently asked ones I've been getting.
Yeah, so regarding fitness, like in summary, okay, they need to be able to get themselves to a point where they can do 2 long days on the Irish Hills in a row. So if they're fit enough to take like a 6 and a 7 hour day in the Irish Hills, Saturday followed by a Sunday, then they'll be physically prepared enough to climb Kili in a nutshell. Yeah.
Talk to us then about the altitude with that, because they're kind of, I won't say kissing cousins because it's real Irish West slang term, but they're kind of the two things people are worried about. Well, I'm physically fit here. I'm able to do 6, 7, 8 hours of hiking, but I don't know about altitude. Talk to us a little bit about altitude then.
Yeah, absolutely. So the higher you go up into the atmosphere, the less pressure there is. So there's less oxygen in the air that you can access. So it's more difficult to function and to exercise at higher elevations. Okay. So there's very little you can do to prepare for that in Ireland in advance, okay? But the key things that people need to remember, and that you'll be reminding them on the trip, and the doctor who'll be there with them, is they need to focus on avoiding getting altitude sickness. So they need to walk at a really slow pace. That's really, really important. Then we need to have enough time to climb the mountains. So 5.5 days up is enough time to acclimatize to the elevation. Also, they need to drink a lot of water. Being really hydrated is key at altitude. So drinking between 4 to 6 liters of water a day. And then sleeping well and eating well are really, really important, because during sleep, like at sea level, it's when your body recovers and adapts. and then obviously it needs the nutrition to fuel all the work that it's doing. And that's it really. And on our trips, we'd have a success rate of about 99%. So that's people coming from Ireland with no altitude experience. Yeah, if people do the training, like typically there's no problem with the altitude.
I love that, Jam. And the thing, again, this is specific to our group. Obviously, I'm helping people with the fitness and the training and the lead up to it. So I'm very confident that 99 will shift to 100% when we get there. Yes. Obviously, you know, there's always things that could happen, but for the most part you can control the controllables. With the altitude, and I'll talk to a little bit of personal experience on this, because I had a lot of fear around altitude, not for Kili, but I did Kyrgyzstan last year. I was doing an ultramarathon in Kyrgyzstan. I actually ended up picking up with a parasite and getting really sick, but we did go up quite high. I think it was about 2,500, maybe 3,000 meters in terms of elevation. So I got the experience of the altitude. It feels really weird and everyone gets hit differently with it. For me, it was my heart. It felt like I drank a can of Red Bull or several cups of coffee, but it's very much down to the speed at which you go. We were hiking up quickly, but if you go slow and steady, you have a much better acclimatization period. I read a lot about altitude before that, just because of to reduce some of that fear, reduce the fear by, you know, consuming more data around the thing you're afraid about. With the hydration and food, then how does food work and how does hydration work? So, for example, let's say it's people from our trip. We've got a good few signed up already, or anyone that's going with you on another trip now or in the future. What do they need to know about food and hydration in terms of that they're obviously carrying their water and they'll have that with them, but talk to us about the layout for food and water, because that is, again, everyone does this differently. Talk to us specifically about Earth's Edge.
Yeah, so I guess on Kili, we will have a huge team with us, man. So we'll have about 60 staff on your climb. Most of them are porters carrying the equipment, but we also have 3 cooks on the mountain with us as well. So they'll be providing like a solid, like cooked breakfast, cooked lunch, cooked dinner, which is, you know, more food than you can eat. And then in between that, you need to carry your own snacks to keep you going in between meals. Okay, so people will bring their own like chocolate, or they can, whatever food they like to eating, stuff that's kind of plenty of sugar and calories in it is key. From the water perspective, we collect water on the mountain from springs, and then we also filter that using a special filter. So we provide you with all the drinking water as well, and you'll have hot water for the evening as well for tea. Yeah, which is key.
After X amount of hours, which we'll come on to next, I think there's nothing better. Like, one of the things I'm looking forward the most of, and I haven't been as excited about something, Jam, in ages. Like, this is because it felt like the stars were aligning this year, because we were supposed to go before COVID, then that happened. We were supposed to go 2021, then my dad got really sick, and then it just all aligned this year, and I'm so excited because we've already got really good people going, and we'll have a few more off the back of this episode. And just sitting around having a cup of tea after a day of climbing is going to be incredible. It's just going to be such a great memory. But talk to us a little bit about the time each day. We're 5.5 days going up. How long will we be hiking for each day on average? It obviously depends, and I know it's route specific, but what's the kind of average so people can gauge?
Yeah, so between 5 and 7 hours. Okay, most of those, the first 4 days, you're talking about a 6-hour day, 6-hour day, 8-hour day, and a 5-hour day. Another 5-hour day. So the days aren't that long. So typically, I'll give you a typical day, right, just to give you an idea of it. We might give you guys a shout at wake you up at 6:30 with passing in a cup of tea or coffee into your tent, okay? And then we want you to be out of the tent and ready to go, like for breakfast, all packed up by 7:30. So we have breakfast, and then we might move for 8:30, and you know, get to the next camp at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. We'll have some popcorn. And you got some time to chill out. Then we'll have dinner, and then soon after that you're kind of heading to bed. Like, man, honestly, I sleep so good on a big mountain like Kili. Like, you literally have like potential to do a 10 if not 12-hour sleep, which is just so good for everything. And then you're gonna do it all the next day. The crux on this mountain is the summit day. So summit day is like a 15-hour day. But outside of that, they're kind of shorter days, yeah, for sure.
That's the last day, obviously.
Yes,
for the summit day.
Going to the top, yeah, that's the kind of big crux on Kili. Now, people shouldn't try to be replicating a 15-hour day in their training. As I said, like a 6 to 7 hour, 2 6 to 7 hour days in a row is enough. It's kind of mind over body stuff, you know, like your ultra experience. For the summit day, yeah, but amazing. I'm really listening to you now and talking about the trip. I'm getting excited. I want to go with you guys, you know?
It's going to be awesome. And it's funny that you mentioned there about sleeping, because Cara, one of the girls who signed up, who I'm really good friends with, it was asking about sleeping. She's like, I'm really worried about sleeping at altitude and just sleeping on the trip. And it's weird because I did the Sahara, the Marathon de Sable, the 6 back-to-back marathons in the Sahara. It's not at altitude, but I slept the best I've ever slept from being, it's partly down that you're like literally waking with the sun. Like you're going down in the evening, you're getting tired when you're supposed to get tired, you're waking with the sun, you're not stuck to a device and a phone all day, and you're literally living as your body's meant to live. And that's an incredible experience for anyone that's never done that. I think doing that at least once in your life, to experience how you've been hardwired and evolved over the last 10,000 years and taking yourself out of this normal weird life, cultural, societal setup we have, and going back to basically how our ancestors were, is such an incredible experience. So I can't wait for that. I want to also talk about, we touched on the time on feet in terms of how difficult it will be. It'll be nice, slow and steady in terms of, oh, you mentioned the porters. This was another question I got asked. I know the answer to this, so I'm going to ask you just so you can put it in your own words. This isn't self-sufficient in the sense of people carrying all their own equipment and carrying their own bags. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I've had a few people going, I don't think I'm going to be strong enough to carry my bags. I've obviously replied, but talk to them about that.
Yeah, for sure. So you're going to be carrying a pack similar size than what you'd use in the Irish Hills, okay? So like a 30-litre backpack. And in that, you're going to have everything that you need for that specific day of walking. So, you know, if you start off, let's say it's pretty warm in the morning, in a pair of trekking pants and a t-shirt, in the pack, you'd have your water, you'd have a spare warm layer, your rain gear, your camera, a few bits and bobs of what you need for that day. And then the bulk of your stuff, like your sleeping bag, all your spare clothes, your everything else that you have on the mountain, is going in a duffel bag, and that's carried by one of our porters. They'll bring it to the next camp for you, and it'll be waiting there for you when you arrive. Yep.
That's huge. Like, I think that's because what I loved so much about Earth's Edge, and I've known this for years because we were supposed to go back in 2020, was it's a turnkey service is what I think when you're buying a house. Like, you basically rock up fit enough, and then everything is more or less done, except for you have to walk yourself, like, obviously, which is great. It's why we've got such a good group going, because you're going to be chatting and having conversations and getting to know people. And that's why I put such a big emphasis on that community aspect, because we're literally going to be having this experience, this lifetime memory with these people that you're going to probably know forever, potentially, off the back of it, which is just such an incredible thing, because that's what these are for. I know you're big on this, and again, we'll do another podcast down the line in terms of, you know, because I know you stepped out of it slightly, the day-to-day operations, and you're doing a lot more with B Lab Ireland, etc. But we'll park that, come back to it again, and keep it on Kili. You mentioned the trekking pants, clothing, etc. I won't get into specifics on this because everyone's obviously individual, but talk to us a little bit about some clothing mistakes people might make, and the weather temperature, which I know varies, but we're going in October, so you can talk specifically for that, and we'll pair those two things together.
Yeah, sure. So you're going right at the end of the dry season, which is perfect. So it's very close to the equator. Okay, so it's quite a tropical country, Tanzania. So when you start walking, you're going to be in the rainforest, in the jungle. And as you go higher in the mountain, that will basically transition into subalpine, alpine, and then right up onto the top of Kili, which is like, there's a glacier up there. So your temperature range from the first day of walking, it can be 30-35 degrees, to then typically like maybe -5, -10. If there's a lot of wind, Brian, the wind chill can bring it down to about -30. So people need to have a lot of gear for all conditions. There is a really awesome gear list that we've sent through that will cover everything off. And it's just having all the different layers, all the bits, you know. So you have gear for when it's raining but quite warm, and then obviously you have your down jacket and your down mitts and your good sleeping bag for when it's higher up. Yeah, it's colder.
talk to us, and I'm doubling back now, but I realized I didn't actually specifically cover this when we were talking about sleeping, because you put up a great post on your Instagram. I'm going to link the Instagram in the show notes below as well for people to click through, follow if you're not already, but about the sleeping, and you were talking specifically Everest versus Kilimanjaro, because you do multiple trips in different places. But again, people can check it out on the website. But talk to us about the sleeping arrangement in terms of what you will be using in Kilimanjaro, because I know it's different depending on the trip.
Yeah, so we use really high quality tents. They're Mountain Hardware Triangle 3, and as the name suggests, it's a 3-person tent, so it's enough space for 3 people, but we put just 2 people in that tent to make it much more spacious for you guys. So it's not a big walk-in. Don't think like a safari tent in Africa or something. It's a camping tent. You're very comfortable. We'll supply thermarests as well as sleeping pads for you guys. And I think for anyone that's camped before, be that at a festival or actually doing outdoor stuff, you'll be blown away by how luxurious it is. What I would say to anyone who's never camped before, get a tent and start sleeping in your back garden a little bit, because if you're a light sleeper, it's quite an adjustment. But as you mentioned, I'm the same. Like, I go on one of these trips and I just sleep for Ireland. You know, it's so nice getting really high quality sleeps, because you're disconnected from technology and really high quality time with the people you're on the mountain with as well. It's just like uninterrupted chats with people. It's amazing. It's the best thing about being on expedition, you know.
Oh, funny you say that. I had one of the lads, Aaron, who signed up, and he was asking me about business stuff, and he was like, look, I'm thinking of doing this and this and get away from my career. And I was like, mate, we are going to have so much time to talk about that on the trip. And like, I love that, because I would talk that all day. Like, that's my literally what makes me jump out of bed every morning. And you get this opportunity to connect, to talk to people and have those chats, and like, some will be deep, meaningful, some will be a bit more just joyful and laughter and everything in between. And I think that is something that's so underrated. As somebody that does and has done some physical challenges, even in the downtime, because Marathon des Sables, I ran through the Arctic, I've done a few other things. The actual physical day is very difficult, but the downtime is amazing in terms of the conversations you're having and the people you get to meet, and you get to have an experience that you just, again, you would read about in a book or see in a movie. That's literally what these things feel like, and I can't underplay that enough for people listening. Also, I'll say bring earplugs. One of the biggest things that if you're a light sleeper like me, because I am probably the lightest sleeper ever, if you had an extreme, I'm on the extreme of the lightness, but earplugs, and I use one of those they're not balaclavas, because I sound like I'm going to rob a bank. One of the snoods, and then just literally put it over my eyes, and then the earplugs in, and you sleep like an absolute baby, even if you're a light sleeper, because as you said, you're disconnected from technology, you're going back to your ancestral roots as much as possible, and you'd be shocked with how good your sleep would be. What, Jam, are a couple of the Kilimanjaro misconceptions, or if you want to take this from a slightly different angle, what's something that people don't ask about that they should possibly ask about more? Because we've gone through, I would imagine, the most frequently asked: altitude, training, the food, the layout, etc. What are the two of the misconceptions or things that people don't ask about that they possibly should?
Yeah, so just on the sleep as well, just to say that if people are signing up by themselves, we'll pair them off with someone else of the same gender, or if they're signing up with a friend they can share, or with a partner, that's no problem as well. So question people always want to know, but they're too chicken to ask, is where do you go to the toilet, man? Where do you go for a poo in the mountain? Like, that's pooing is on people's minds. So in each of the camps we have toilets set up, so they look like a portaloo for all they're like a transportable portaloo. Okay, so that we have those, and then if you're going for a wee on the trail, you know, you can obviously go anywhere, and then if you need to go for a poo in between camps, we basically just give you like nappy sacks so you can pick up the paper. The actual poo itself will degrade over a couple of weeks, so that's a big one. Other like mistakes, not the poo's a big one, it's a big topic I should say. Other things that people struggle with a little bit is just getting used to going at such a slow pace. Like on your summit push, man, you're going to be talking about taking a step every 3 to 4 seconds near the top. So it's incredibly slow. Like the summit day is maybe like from high camp to the summit and back, you're talking about at least 10 hours, and it's probably less than 4 kilometers up there, you know, much less. So that takes a bit of an adjustment. I think hygiene is so key, like really, really important, so that you're washing your hands after you go to the toilet and before you touch food. That's really, really important. If you got access to water, great. If not, you're using alcoholic hand sanitizer. Yeah, and then really, those would be the big ones, really. I think. I'm trying to think of anything else. Protecting yourself from the sun, the heat. There's a lot of focus on the cold, but it's if they have everything on the gear list, it's really easy to manage their temperature from cold to manageable. It's when it's very, very hot, it's a little bit more challenging. You tend to overheat and struggle. So I think particularly as Irish people, make sure you're protecting your skin all the time. Not the kind of trip you want to be going for the suntan on. But yeah, it's such a cool experience, man. It's kind of hard to really emphasize this enough, but to meet the Tanzanian porters and guides and learn from them, and you know, see what buzzers they are and good people, even though they're living, you know, pretty tough lives, is a really special part of the trip. And to just enjoy the whole process of like preparing, and take it day by day out there. Don't be worrying about the summit, because you'll miss the rest of the trip. So
this is the high end of, and sorry to cut across, Jam, but just you reminded me there with your line that, you know, be happy on the destination, or be happy on the journey, and the destination will come. Like, this is one of these that the summit will be incredible. It'll be an amazing experience. It'll be a great achievement. You get a great Instagram photo and all that, but it's everything in the lead up. Like, I'm as excited now for the upcoming training days, getting to meet everybody, getting to connect and put proper faces to people, and getting to see what their backstories are, and just getting to know them, and then bringing all that away and like ramping it up to 100 and just making this memory, focusing on those day-to-days little things. Like you had a video that you sent me, and I put it into one of the reels, about just overlooking the mountain. Everyone was just chilling. It was obviously after a day of climbing, and everyone was just sitting chatting, and I'm like, that's just going to be such a cool memory, a cool experience in Tanzania. Like, you're not going to do that. This is like bucket list material. In terms of once in a lifetime, you're going to have that memory forever. It's going to be incredible. Jam, I think we've covered so much in just under 22 minutes, from sleeping, food, hydration, altitude, layout, time on feet, equipment, clothing, weather, temperature. I literally had it all here, and we've gone through it. For those who are listening to this, is also what I meant to say at the very start, this is a video first episode, so you can head over to YouTube as well, and we'll have graphics and stuff going alongside it. Jam, is there anything else people need to know for those who are looking to come on this trip, and you're listening before all the places have filled, or if it's before October 21st, obviously? I'll put the link below. If you're listening to this on the back end, there's other trips going to Kilimanjaro. I'll potentially be doing other trips away to other places in the future, so stay tuned for that. I'll link the website, I'll link the Instagram, the podcast. I know you go through and take people through their experience as well. But is there anything else you want to say or send people to? And I'll put that in the description as well, Jen.
I don't think so, man. I think you've got it covered off. Just to really enjoy it, enjoy the process, and have an absolutely amazing time. It's such a cool mountain, such a cool experience, and you're going to make great memories together. It's just a very special experience. Like for me, like many years from now, reflect on my life, like going up Kilimanjaro will be one of the highlights for sure. So it'll be the same for you and your team. So yeah, just enjoy it, smile ear to ear and go with the flow. You'll have an awesome time.
Amazing. Jam, thank you so much again for your time. I know you're flying out next week, and you've got your Everest Without Oxygen Challenge, and I wish you the best of luck with that, however it goes, in whatever direction, because there's so many uncontrollables that we can't control in this. I think it's amazing what you're doing, and again, all the work you're doing with Direct B Lab, and then obviously giving people this experience with Earth's Edge. We'll do another round 2 at some point, going more into your backstory. Wanted to keep it Kili focused today, but keep doing what you're doing, and thank you so much again.
Thank you too, man. Really appreciate it. Cheers.